I knew I didn't belong there from the moment I saw the seating chart, but I still wasn't prepared for them to literally put me in the hallway. Let me back up. I'm 33, middle management, in a big corporate monster that loves buzzwords more than people. I'm not a rock star, not a prodigy. I'm the guy who fixes broken timelines, takes calls at 9 p.m., and writes the reports other people present as their own. I don't complain much. I thought that meant I was trusted. Our CEO hosts this giant annual corporate gala. Suits, ball gowns, a hotel ballroom downtown, live band, open bar, all that. I'd never been invited before. This year, I got the email. Ethan, we're happy to see you at the Executive Appreciation Gala. Your contributions this year have not gone unnoticed. I read that line 3 times. Not gone unnoticed. For once, I let myself believe someone actually saw what I was doing. My boss, Mason, made it sound like a big deal. Congrats, man, he said in his usual too loud voice. You're finally moving up. This is where people see you. Don't screw it up. Be charming. I laughed like it was a joke. It didn't feel like a joke. I spent way too long getting ready that night. New tie, clean shoes, haircut the day before. I even ironed my shirt twice. On the Uber ride there, I kept telling myself it was just a party. But my stomach had that mix of hope and nausea you get before a job interview. The hotel was one of those places where the lobby smells like money. Marble everywhere, a ridiculous chandelier. At the registration table, 2 young women in black dresses checked people in, smiling like they meant it. Name? One of them asked. Ethan Cole, from operations. She scanned the list, finger moving down, then stopping. She frowned a little, then hid it behind a professional smile. Ah, yes, here you are. You're at table. H17. She hesitated on the H like it tasted weird. I didn't think about it at the time. I followed the flow of people toward the ballroom. They had one of those big printed seating boards on an easel at the entrance. People were standing there, laughing, pointing at where they were sitting. I stepped closer. Tables A through F were right in front of the stage. Names printed in bold, some with little gold stars next to them. Senior managers, VP this, VP that. Mason's name was there, of course. Then there was a second column. GHIJ. I scanned for mine. H17. I found it at the bottom. The font was smaller. It was also not in the ballroom. There was a tiny note next to it. Auxiliary seating. Corridor. I stared at that word way longer than I should have. Corridor. Maybe I misunderstood. Maybe it was just a weird printing thing. Inside, the ballroom was massive. Round tables with white tablecloths, crystal glasses, a stage with huge screens, and the company logo looping every few seconds. A band was warming up in the corner. It looked like every corporate dream you see in stock photos. Can I help you find your table? A waiter asked, balancing a tray of champagne. Yeah, I said. Table H17? He didn't even have to look at the chart. Ah, H17. This way, sir. We walked straight past the main tables, past the people laughing too loudly, the senior execs clapping each other on the back, the selfie circle near the stage. The lights dimmed as we went, replaced by the colder glow of ceiling fixtures. We slipped through a side door. That's when I realized he wasn't taking me to the back of the ballroom. He was taking me out of it. The corridor was literally that. A long beige hallway outside the main hall. One wall was glass, looking into the ballroom like a viewing window. The other wall had doors to storage, a side kitchen, and some conference rooms. You could hear the music and the chatter through the doors, but it was muffled, distant like someone else's life. And there against the glass were 3 small, round cocktail tables, squeezed between a fake plant and a fire extinguisher. Each one had 2 chairs. Each one had a tiny, cheap-looking place setting, paper name cards instead of the glossy printed ones inside. The waiter pointed to the farthest one. H17, he said. My name was there, folded over a napkin. Ethan Cole in black ink. Across from it, another card. Guest. Not a name, just guest. Like whoever sat across from me would be an afterthought. For a second, I thought it was some kind of error. Is this part of the event? I asked, immediately hating how small my voice sounded. Yes, sir, he said, still polite, but his eyes slid away from mine. All tables are assigned as per management. Someone will bring appetizers soon. He left before I could say anything else. I stood there, looking through the glass. Inside, they were pouring champagne at table A. Our CEO was already making his way around, shaking hands. Mason saw him and practically sprinted over, one arm already half raised like he was mid-joke. No one looked toward the hallway. People walked past me on their way to the bathroom. Some glanced at my table, then away quickly, like they didn't want to get caught staring at something embarrassing. I sat down because standing made me feel like even more of a mistake. The chair wobbled. From my angle, I could see the stage, but only through two heads and a column. I could hear the sound check. I could barely hear the conversations, just bursts of laughter. It felt like being in the cheap seats of your own life. A couple arrived a few minutes later, both in formal wear that screamed, "We didn't pay for this." They checked the card on the middle table, then looked at mine. "Excuse me?" The woman said to me with an apologetic smile. Is this where we're supposed to be? Table H16? I checked the card. Yeah, I said. Looks like we're neighbors. They sat down, the man adjusting his tie. Cheeks already red. He joked about us being in VIP overflow, but no one laughed. A junior HR guy I vaguely knew was at the third table. He gave me that half shrug, half smile people do when they recognize shared humiliation. We all pretended it was fine for about 10 minutes. A server came by with a tray. "Champagne?" she asked. I took one. So did the couple. She poured something that called itself wine into our glasses and moved on fast, back into the real party. From the ballroom, we heard the MC's voice through the door. "Welcome to our annual Executive Appreciation Gala." The people at the glass tables went quiet. I watched as names were called inside. Applause. Spotlights. A few people from my department went up for outstanding performance, or commitment to excellence. I'd done half the work behind at least one of those projects. My name wasn't mentioned. I don't know how to describe what I felt other than this. It wasn't rage. It wasn't even jealousy. It was like someone took whatever little sense of dignity I had at work, wrote my name on a sticky note, and stuck it in the hallway to get out of the way. My phone buzzed in my pocket. It was a message from Mason. "Hey, you made it. Sorry, seating's tight this year. We had to prioritize clients and senior staff. Grab a drink, though. Big night for the team." I read it twice. We had to prioritize. I looked back through the glass. Mason was at table B, telling a story. His arms spread wide, everyone around him laughing. He raised his glass toward someone I couldn't see, all fake warmth and teeth. I realized something then. I wasn't just in the hallway by accident. Someone had looked at the list, looked at the room, and decided I was the one they could move out without it mattering. I set my champagne down. The bubbles had already died. The HR guy at the next table caught my eye. "You good, man?" I asked quietly. "Yeah," I said. "I just need some air." I stood up, straightened my jacket, and took one last look through the glass. For a second, I thought I saw someone on the far side of the ballroom watching our little row of corridor tables instead of the stage. But the lights shifted, and I lost the face in the crowd. Maybe I imagined it? I turned, walked down the beige corridor, past the storage doors and the exit sign, and pushed open the door that led back to the lobby. No scene, no yelling, no passive-aggressive jokes. I just left. I didn't sleep that night. Not from anger, from something heavier. That feeling you get when a truth finally settles in your chest and refuses to move. I kept replaying that hallway table, the glass wall, the blurred music. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the waiter pointing at my name card like it was a punishment. By morning, I'd convinced myself I'd overreacted. Maybe leaving was immature. Maybe I should have stayed and at least talked to someone. Maybe it really was just tight seating. I almost walked into the office with an apology ready on my tongue, but the office greeted me with something else entirely. Silence. Not the normal Monday morning kind, the careful, watching kind. People glanced at me, then quickly away. Conversation stopped when I got near. One of the analysts actually turned around and pretended to read a poster. It felt like I was walking into a room where someone had just told a joke about me and wasn't finished laughing. At 10:03, Mason's assistant pinged me. "Hey, Ethan, he needs to see you. Now." No greeting, no emoji, not her style. I took a breath, stood, and walked to his office. The hallway felt longer than usual. When I stepped inside, Mason didn't even gesture for me to sit. There was that too loud voice again. "So," he began, linking his fingers behind his head like he was settling into a lecture. "I heard you left early last night." I didn't say anything. He didn't wait. "That wasn't a good look, man. You can't just walk out of an executive gala." "People noticed." I finally spoke. "They put me in the hallway." He laughed. Actually laughed. A sharp, dismissive sound. "Oh, come on. It wasn't the hallway. It was auxiliary seating." "That's a hallway, Mason. It's overflow. Lots of companies do that. You know, limited capacity, VIP prioritization. You shouldn't take it personally." I was outside the room. He waved his hand. "Yeah, well, someone has to be. Look, we tried to squeeze everyone in, but we can't bump paying clients and VPs for mid-level ops." There was a small pause after mid-level ops, like he realized what he'd said, but not enough to take it back. I stayed quiet. I wanted to see how far he'd go. He sighed loudly. "The point is, you leaving? That made me look bad. You were under my team. When people ask where the hell one of my guys went, I have to answer for that." "So you're upset because it reflected badly on you." He sat forward, dropping the friendly act. "Yes, actually, exactly that. And not because it was humiliating." His jaw twitched. "Don't be dramatic. It was a seating issue. Get over it." Something settled in me then, like a stone dropping to the bottom of a lake. Calm, heavy, final. "I'm not upset about the seat," I said quietly. "I'm upset that you think I should be fine with it." He blinked. He'd expected defensive, maybe even anger. Not this. "Look," he said, standing abruptly. "Just next time, don't leave, okay? Be a team player. These events matter." "I'm aware," I replied. "They matter to people who were invited into the actual room." He opened his mouth to snap back, but his phone buzzed. He froze when he saw the caller ID. I watched his entire posture change. I've got to take this," he muttered quickly. "We're done here." He didn't meet my eyes again. I walked out. But the strange thing was, the office didn't relax after that. If anything, the stares sharpened. People who never noticed me suddenly noticed everything. The HR manager passed me twice, both times giving me that polite smile people use when they're evaluating you like a spreadsheet. By lunchtime, I knew something was off. Not wrong? Off. People whispered as I passed. One coworker, a quiet guy from IT, actually stopped me by the coffee machine. "Hey," he said under his breath, glancing around. "I just wanted to say I'm sorry about last night." My stomach tightened. "What do you mean?" He hesitated. "I was working the AV booth. The camera feed covers the whole ballroom and the hallway. I saw what happened. I didn't breathe for a second. Someone else saw it too," he added quietly. "Someone important." "Who?" He looked around again, then leaned closer. "I'm not supposed to say." And then he walked away like he never spoke to me. For the next hour, my mind spun. Someone important. Someone in the hallway. Someone who saw me leave. At 2 p.m., things took another turn. We got an all-staff email from headquarters, the kind with bold fonts and vague language. A special audit was being launched regarding event management conduct, resource allocation, and leadership professionalism. Nobody breathed. People looked around the office like the ceiling might answer them. Mason stepped out of his office, pale as printer paper. He stared at the email, swallowed hard, then slammed his door shut. That was when I realized whatever storm was coming wasn't about me. Not really, but I was standing in the doorway of it. Around 4, I finally packed my bag. As I headed toward the elevator, I passed the glass wall of the conference room, the one where the senior managers usually held their meetings. Inside, 3 unfamiliar people in suits were speaking with our HR head. 2 of them looked furious. 1 looked disappointed. All 3 looked like they outranked my boss by several floors. As I turned away, I caught something in the reflection, the faintest glimpse of a face I recognized, but had never spoken to. Someone from the company website's leadership page. Someone who absolutely should have been at Table A last night. Someone who wasn't. And suddenly, everything inside me tightened, because that person had been in the hallway last night, watching, listening, seeing everything. I didn't know what it meant yet, not fully, but one thing was suddenly very clear. Leaving the gala wasn't the end of anything. It was the start. By the next morning, half the office was pretending not to stare at me. The other half didn't bother pretending. I didn't check the company group chat, but judging by the energy in the building, someone definitely had. People love a scandal more than they love their salaries. When I got to my desk, I found a calendar invite waiting for me. Meeting with corporate oversight, 11 a.m., conference room 4B. 4 letters that could ruin or resurrect a career. I clicked it open. No description. No agenda. No mention of Mason. That alone told me everything I needed to know. At 10:58, I walked toward the conference room. You'd think I was carrying a bomb with how people stepped aside. Even the chatty receptionist didn't try to make small talk. When I reached 4B, the door was slightly open. Voices murmured inside. I pushed it gently. 3 people looked up. The woman in the center was the one I'd seen in the hallway at the gala. Tall, composed, a face like calm glass. I'd seen her photo online. Her name was Layla Henriksen, Senior Vice President of Corporate Strategy, one of the company's heavy hitters, the kind of person who didn't attend events unless there was a reason, and she definitely didn't sit in beige hallways unless something had gone wrong. Ethan, she said, gesturing to the empty chair across from her, thank you for coming. Her voice wasn't warm, but it wasn't hostile either. Just measured, precise, like she only used words that earned their keep. I sat. Layla folded her hands on the table. We'll keep this brief. I want you to walk us through what happened last night. My throat got dry. I was invited to the gala. When I arrived, my table assignment was in the corridor. The hallway, one of the men corrected sharply. I blinked. Yes, the hallway. I tried to be polite about it, but it felt intentional, degrading. After about 15 minutes, I left. Layla watched me the whole time, expression unreadable. Did anyone explain why you were placed there? She asked. No. Did your manager reach out beforehand about the seating? No. And afterward, just to tell me leaving was unprofessional. One of the men scribbled something in a notebook. Layla nodded slowly. I thought so. That was the first moment I felt something shift. A faint crack in the wall of whatever this was. She leaned forward slightly. Let me tell you what I saw, Ethan. My stomach tightened. I arrived late to the gala, she said. Flight delays. When I checked in, my badge wasn't ready, and the staff asked me to wait temporarily in the corridor. It hit me like a punch. They had put her in the same place, the same table style, the same cheap paper name card, except she wasn't even assigned there. It was a mistake. I sat at table H15, she continued, and while I waited, I watched 3 employees be seated outside the ballroom. Her eyes locked onto mine. I watched you be seated outside the ballroom. Heat crawled up my neck, she went on. At first, I assumed we had a space limitation issue, but then I looked through the glass. There were empty chairs, several. The male auditor nodded. We have photos. Layla's voice sharpened. What I witnessed was not an overflow problem. It was a hierarchy problem, and a disrespect problem. I didn't breathe for several seconds. And then, she said, I watched you sit there alone. I watched your manager see you through the glass and turn away. And I watched your face when the recognition awards began, and you were still outside. I stared at the table. I expected you to make a scene, she said. Many people would have. Instead, you stood up and left quietly. A strange pressure rose in my chest. Shame, pride, both. She studied me for a long moment. Tell me honestly, Ethan, did you leave because you were angry or because you were done? I swallowed. Because I was done. Something in her expression changed, subtly. Like she'd been waiting for that answer. She tapped her pen once. Good. That clarifies the situation. The man beside her slid a folder toward me. Could you look at this? It's a copy of your performance records, cross-referenced with task assignments and team reports. I opened it. My name was everywhere. Projects I'd rescued, schedules I'd fixed, departments I'd coordinated, even deliverables that had gone out under Mason's name had my timestamps all over them. Pages of evidence that I'd been carrying more weight than I ever realized. We spoke with several department leads, the man said. Your work is solid. You keep teams functioning. I exhaled slowly. Layla leaned back in her chair. Your manager, on the other hand, has repeatedly downplayed your contributions. He assigned you tasks above your pay grade, then rerouted the credit. He has a pattern of misplacing employees he considers non-essential. My pulse thudded. He also lied to us this morning, she added casually. He claimed you left the gala without warning, causing disruption. We have camera footage showing the opposite. My heart kicked. But here's the part Mason didn't know, she continued. Several board members attended that event. They noticed the seating choices. A pause. And they noticed the hallway tables. I stared at her. She didn't blink. Your departure last night set off a chain reaction, she said, and the investigation we're conducting is not about your behavior. It's about his. The other man closed his notebook. Effective immediately, he said. Your manager has been placed on administrative review. My breath caught. Layla wasn't finished. There will be structural changes in your department, she said. Some responsibilities will be reassigned. Some positions may be vacated. We're looking for people with integrity, steadiness, and a strong sense of responsibility to help stabilize the transition. She let that sink in. And last night, Ethan, I saw all three in you. My fingers tightened around the folder. Layla gathered her papers. We'll speak again soon. You'll be informed of next steps. I nodded, unsure if my voice would work. As I stood to leave, she said one last thing. By the way, don't let anyone tell you. Quiet decisions aren't powerful. Yours reached the top floor. I walked out of that conference room feeling like gravity had shifted beneath my feet. People looked at me as I passed, but not with pity this time. Something else. Curiosity. Apprehension. Recognition. By the time I reached my desk, Mason's office was dark. His nameplate was gone. His door was locked. No announcement. No explanation. Just absence. I sat down slowly, the weight of everything pressing into me. They thought I was gone. I wasn't. And for the first time since the gala, I felt something close to steady. Something close to right. The building felt different the next day. Not louder, not triumphant. Just cleaner. Like someone had finally opened a window that had been stuck shut for years. People still looked at me, but now their expressions were quiet, careful. Some nodded. Some avoided eye contact, unsure of the rules now. A few whispered the way kids whisper in a church pew, reverent, tiny, afraid to disturb something bigger than them. I didn't feel bigger, though, just lighter. Around noon, I got another calendar invite. Follow-up discussion, 3 p.m., executive floor. The executive floor, I had never been up there. Most employees didn't step foot on it unless they were being hired, promoted, or escorted out with a cardboard box. I arrived 2 minutes early. The receptionist smiled in a way that felt rehearsed, but real enough. Mr. Cole, they're expecting you. She pushed a button. The big glass door clicked open. Inside was a meeting room with floor-to-ceiling windows and a view of the whole city. Layla stood at the head of the table, flipping through a set of documents. Two other people I didn't know sat nearby. She glanced up. "Ethan, have a seat." I sat. "We'll keep this brief," she said. "We're implementing departmental restructuring over the next 3 weeks. As part of that, we're offering you a position." The man beside her slid a folder across the table. I opened it. Operations Project Supervisor. Salary bump. Direct report to the regional director. Team lead status with hiring influence. My lungs tightened for a moment. "I wasn't expecting this," I said. Layla nodded. "We know, but leadership isn't about who stands in the center of the ballroom. It's about who stays steady when they're pushed to the edges." She met my eyes. "You were pushed. You didn't break." There was no dramatic swell of music, no spotlight, just a simple, steady truth, landing where it belonged. "We think you'll serve the company well," she continued, "and we want to ensure you're in a position where your work is actually seen." I exhaled. "Thank you," I said. "I appreciate it." "Good," she replied. "One more thing." She closed her folder with a soft thud. "Whatever happened with Mason is not your burden. Don't let anyone make it yours. Understood?" I nodded. "Understood." She stood, offered her hand. "Welcome aboard, Ethan." Her handshake was firm, warm, final, the kind that sealed things. As I rode the elevator back down, something strange happened. The doors opened onto my floor, and for the first time in years, there was no heaviness in my chest, no feeling of being stepped over, dismissed, used as a silent workhorse. Just quiet, real quiet, peaceful. The news spread fast. I didn't announce anything, but people talk. By the next morning, I had 4 congratulations emails, 3 whispered "nice going, man" comments, and 1 person who brought me coffee as if I'd been crowned. I didn't want any of it, honestly. But I accepted it with a nod. Later that afternoon, while I was clearing out Mason's leftover reporting files from the shared drive, someone knocked on my desk partition. I looked up. It was Jacob from finance, a guy who'd barely spoken to me in 3 years. "Hey," he said awkwardly. Just wanted to check in. You good?" "I'm good," I said. "I saw what they did at the gala," he whispered. "That should never have happened. I'm glad someone finally said something." "I didn't really say anything," I replied. "I just left." "Yeah," he said with a small smile. "Sometimes that's louder." He walked away, and for a moment I let myself sit with that. Sometimes leaving is louder. 2 days later, the last thread of the old world tugged at me. I was walking out of the building, jacket over my arm, thinking about dinner and maybe doing laundry for once, when I saw someone waiting near the sidewalk. A woman. Short dark hair, blazer too stiff, eyes darting until they landed on me. Her posture straightened instantly. It was her, Elizabeth, the assistant from Mason's team. The one who used to bring him coffee and print his last-minute slides, while he yelled into the phone about deadlines he'd missed himself. "Hi, Ethan," she said, a little breathless. Do you have a minute?" "Sure." She stepped closer, lowering her voice. "I heard what happened. About the review. About the hallway. I just wanted to say I'm sorry." "You have nothing to apologize for," I said gently. "I do." Her jaw tightened. "I knew he treated you unfairly sometimes. I should have spoken up." "You were doing your job." She shook her head. "I was protecting my paycheck. There's a difference." I didn't know what to say to that, but she wasn't finished. "If you ever build a team," she said quietly, "I'd like to work for someone like you." Her voice cracked on the last word, just slightly, enough to tell me she'd been carrying more weight than she showed. I nodded. "If I have openings, I'll keep you in mind." She smiled, an actual one, not the strained one she wore at her old desk, and walked off, shoulders lighter. For a moment, I just watched her go. Then I exhaled, long and steady. Not pity, not pride, just understanding. Some people choose to stay in places that hurt them until someone else leaves first. On Friday, right before closing, I got an email from Layla. Subject, final update. I opened it. Mason's administrative review has concluded. Effective immediately, his employment with the company has been terminated. We appreciate your cooperation throughout this process. That was it. No drama, no speeches, no justice served banner. Just a single clean sentence ending a long, messy line. I didn't smile. I didn't pump my fist. I didn't celebrate. I just sat there, feeling something settle inside me. Not triumph, not revenge, something simpler. Balance. That evening I walked out of the building as the sun was setting behind the skyline, turning the glass windows orange. The air smelled like early summer, warm with a hint of city dust. My phone buzzed. A text from my friend Marcus. "Happy hour? You free?" I thought about the hallway, the cheap table, the cold light, the glass separating me from people who never intended to treat me like one of them. Then I thought about the conference room view from the executive floor. Clear, open, unobstructed. I typed back, "Yeah, I'm free." On the way to the bar, I passed the hotel where the gala had been held. For a moment I slowed, looking at the revolving doors, the soft golden lights inside. Someone walked out laughing, dressed in a suit. Maybe from another event. Maybe from another world entirely. Didn't matter. I kept walking. Because I wasn't in the hallway anymore, and I wasn't waiting for anyone to move me to the right table. The table I sat at now, in work, in life, in my own head, was finally mine.